Hello, welcome to the Greek version of my look at Acts 8:26 through 33 today. So let's 26 through 33. Let's go ahead and begin. And an angel of the Lord. Now, as I said in the other video, there's no "the" on it, and so I think it's fair to say that Luke doesn't expect us to see this as the angel of the Lord. It's a messenger of the Lord, but we're not telling the name. It's one of the Lord of hosts, one of the hosts of the armies of the Lord. Now, an angel of the Lord spoke. This is aorist, good old aorist form. If you've been following these videos since we started Acts, this form of aorist should be pretty solid in your brain. This is a movable nu. This epsilon is a very common third-person singular, past tense, active indicative ending. In fact, just these three letters alone, I could have told you that this was aorist, active, indicative, third singular. That's an augment on the front. It's laleo. He spoke, and now an angel of the Lord. Now, I do think it is the Lord. The absence of the doesn't necessarily mean a Lord. Greek doesn't work that way. Greek doesn't have a word for a Lord. And so we have to make an interpretive decision when there isn't a the as to whether it means an angel, which I think it does here, but this is the Lord because there's no multiple lords in the mind of Luke. Okay, an angel of the Lord spoke to Philip, saying, participle, present active participle, arise and go. This is we saw some imperative forms yesterday, and in fact we saw this one, except it was theiti. Here it's just tethi, kind of mixed around. But it means rise as second person singular. The second person singular imperative forms again are lu e, lu u, lu son, lu si, lu theiti. Okay, so arise, aorist passive, I assume. Wow, that's a weird form. Greek doesn't like. So the Greek wouldn't have liked to say stay theti, and so it's it looks like it's been kind of abbreviated from what it should be. And go according to the south. This is there are a lot of low frequency words. This word is only used twice in the New Testament, both times in Acts. This is the only place in Acts where it means south. It means noon in Acts 9 or later on in Acts. Okay, go according to the south, upon the road, upon the way, the one going down from Jerusalem to Gaza. Okay, so this is a present participle. It's a bad cliche, but it's meant to help beginning Greek students. Active females carry uzis. So usa is, I think this is the first time we've seen this feminine participle. So it is a present active participle, accusative feminine singular. It goes with road. These two match. See the article tain. The road, the going down road, or we would say the road that goes down. This is desert. Good to know. Take water if you're going. Anyway, this is not the word for her. It's not the personal pronoun. The rough breathing mark and the fact that the accent is on the first syllable indicates that this is the feminine form of the word for this. It's the demonstrative pronoun. The reason why it's feminine is because eremos is feminine. By the way, these two words, hodos and eremos, are two words that look masculine, but they're actually feminine. So they're very unusual words in that sense. And we've got them in two lines. Okay, verse 27. And having arisen, anistemi, this is a participle again. It's an aorist, active participle, nominative, masculine, singular. Sas would normally be what you'd have here, but in a second aorist, sometimes the sigma doesn't show up. I'm sorry, I've just memorized these things. And having arisen, he went. This is deponent, peru omai, just like this was deponent, peru omai. So these both have passive endings, even though they're active in meaning. And he went. So it's aorist, passive, deponent indicative third singular from Peruamai. And behold, a man of Ethiops, an Ethiopian man, a eunuch. Now this is, even though this is ends in a psi, we think of it as genitive because it's a loan word. Loan words don't follow the rules, so it has no real endings. It's a man of Ethiops, an Ethiopian man. And then this, the reason why this is genitive, and it is, are kon and tas. The reason why this is genitive is because Ethiops is understood as being genitive. It's construed as genitive. Of a eunuch, a royal official, a dynastes, dynasty, a royal official. This is also genitive, feminine singular. So these are in apposition. They're telling us more about this Ethiopian man. That's weird now that I think of it, because it could go with man. A man of Ethiopians, a eunuch. Okay. Anyway, maybe eunuchos isn't genitive now that I think of it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to look while I'm doing the video, will I? Okay. It should go with man, I would think. A man, a eunuch. Shoot. Sorry, I didn't do my homework. Of Candace. This is genitive. The queen, that's genitive. Of the Ethiopians, and that's genitive. Wow, these all look genitive to me. Okay, who, now there it goes with man, who was over all the treasury of her, who had gone worshiping into Jerusalem. This is the perfect form of erkamai. It's highly irregular. Now, I mentioned in my podcast that we have to ask whether he's a literal eunuch, or where eunuch simply means a palace official. I think probably the majority of interpreters go with the more boring, he's a palace official, and that eunuch had ceased to mean somebody who's been castrated. But it's a lot more interesting if he's actually castrated. If he's a literal eunuch, then of course he's not going to be allowed in the main part of the temple at all. I don't know. Would they let him in the court of the Gentiles? Maybe they would. I don't know. If he's worshiping, he's going to have to get into part of the temple at least. Is he a proselyte? Is he a Jew? He could be a Jewish servant, somebody who's enslaved to Candace. You know, it's possible that somebody who served the queen would be castrated so that they don't get tempted. Those are all possibilities. The thing I like about him being a literal eunuch is that this would imply, as I said in the podcast, yet another barrier that has been crossed in the mission to the whole world. You know, the gospel is for everyone. It's for the whole world. We've moved from Aramaic speakers to Greek speakers to Samaritans. This would be yet another boundary because eunuchs are unclean according to Leviticus. Okay, let's keep going. And he was returning, paraphrastic form of the verb to be with a participle, and sitting, the ain goes with both of these, he was returning and sitting, upon the chariot of him. Again, very low frequency word, 3 times in the New Testament, twice of which are in Acts, okay? And he was reading the prophet Isaiah, Isaiah. This diaeresis here, the 2 dots, indicates that this is not a diphthong. You don't pronounce it as I. It's I-E, which, of course, if you say fast enough, sounds like I anyway. Verse 29, and he said, it's aping and aorist, and the Spirit said to Philip, capital letters, so this is a quote, go and join the chariot of him. Here's the second place in Isaiah where that word is used. There's the theti, second person singular, aorist passive. Be joined to this chariot. Verse 30, and running, Philip heard him reading. This is genitive, and this is genitive. Akuo can take its object in the genitive. We call that a genitive of root idea. And he heard him reading Isaiah the prophet, and he said, another quote, then indeed, are you knowing what you are reading? Question mark. The answer is no. Verse 31, and he said, this can mean he, when it comes in front of men or de. And he said, quote, how would I be able unless someone will lead me? Here's another optative, our second optative in Acts. Luke is educated. He uses optatives. Most people can't use optatives. Okay, well, I don't know about that. I'm just saying. Okay, the key to the optative is the alpha iota before the ending. So optatives tend to have oi or I or a epsilon iota before the ending. That's the telltale sign. So how would, again, optative of potential optative, we call this. How would, and the on is a clue here. It's a little bomb, throws everything up in the air. And a untranslatable conditional particle, I mean. Eon may is an idiom for if not, unless someone will lead me. And this is the future of adegeo. Okay, some interesting forms today. Now our final slide for the day. And he encouraged, he admonished the Philip coming up to sit with him. Okay, participle, aorist participle, aorist infinitive. Verse 32, and the passage, perioke, not karaoke, but perioke. And the passage of Scripture was, he was reading, which he was reading, relative pronoun here, imperfect, avanagonosko, to read, was this. See, these are the same letters, but this is the relative pronoun with the rough breathing mark, and this is the word was with the smooth breathing mark. Which he was reading was this, quote, as, the capital Omega, as a sheep for slaughter was led, this is the aorist passive of ago, and as a lamb before the one shearing it is silent, so this is an aorist participle. Notice the one shearing, or the one who has shorn it. Thus, he does not open the mouth of him. Jesus is the implication, although Philip doesn't know it yet. Philip's asking for help. Philip's confused, and we'll talk about that a little bit, maybe on Saturday, on the kind of Isaiah 53 in Christian interpretation. Verse 33, in the humiliation, justice of him was denied, was taken away. Who will narrate the generation of him? Because he is taken from the Lamb. That is, the life of him is taken from the Lamb. So this is present, passive, indicative, third singular. Okay, this is future. Who will narrate? The sigma indicates future. Aorist passive. Okay, this has been a little look on the Greek here. Now let me, because I don't want to leave you hanging, obviously you can look it up yourself, but let me do a quick look here to figure out what the whether the eunuch is okay. It's nominative. Okay, these both are nominative. Good to know. Let's resume share. Maybe you didn't see that, but I went and looked real quick just to see whether eunuch, this is nominative. So it does tell us about a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch, a royal official of Candace, queen of the Ethiopians. Okay, just barely got it under the wire. Tomorrow we finish Acts 8.